This one was a hard one to play test, mainly because Brian got all of his high school kids to start booing at me when I made an unforced error. This is the Babolat Pure This is the Babolat Pure Drive 98. It is the successor to the Pure Drive VS. In comparison to the regular Pure Drive from Babolat, this is a smaller head size with a more flexible rating compared to its popular counterpart. Overall, this is targeted more towards a control-oriented tennis player. But before I review this, hit like, hit subscribe, and notification bell for more original tennis content. But without further ado, this is the Babolat Pure Drive 98 Tennis Racket Review. If you guys like that B-roll, check out my Instagram. Keep in mind, I have never played with a predecessor of this racket. However, I did have my main racket to be the Babolat Pure Aero VS for about 9 months. So I do have extensive playtesting time with the VS line from Babolat, just not the Pure Drive VS line. Also, I do tinker around with the Babolat Pure Drive from time to time, but not an actual playtest. Let me know if you guys want me to review the more recent version of the Babolat Pure Drive down in the description below and the comments. From the baseline, this racket felt extremely quick. The only racket I recall being fast with the air around this weight was the cousin of the Pure Drive 98, the Pure Aero 98. I will leave a link to that racket review in this corner if you haven't seen it already. Let's start with the pros from the baseline. This was an extremely quick feeling racket. The only quicker racket in recent memory was the Babolat Pure Aero 98. I will leave a link to that tennis racket review in this corner if you haven't checked it out already. With this racket being so quick, I am utterly surprised at how stable this racket is as well. From the slight mishits on the top, bottom, and the sides, I never really felt like the string bed in the ball lost significant power, trajectory, spin, or directional control. Also, the spin potential is pretty decent along with the slices and approach shots. And if you could really swing out on this racket from the baseline without the fear of the ball flying out, even with an open string pattern, you felt like you were always in control. Now, with the pros out of the way, let's talk about the cons. And buckle up, because this is one of the worst rackets I've ever play tested in my life. Although this racket was spec'd as being less stiff than the regular Pure Drive, it felt like this racket was on the upwards of the 75 stiffness rating. This is the second most uncomfortable and painful racket I have ever play tested. Seriously, even during the mini tennis warm-up, my wrist and hand felt like I needed to chop it off every time I hit a forehand. For some reason, the backhand topspin was just fine, by the way. Only after hitting with this racket from the baseline after 15 minutes did the pain finally subdue. And yes, it was more painful than the Yonex 98 I reviewed last year. The launch angle for this racket was atrocious as well. I felt like the ball was consistently crossing the net tape at 6 inches lower than expected from a better, more predictable frame. And lastly, let's talk about the sweet spot for this racket, because there was no sweet spot for this racket. No matter where I hit the ball in the string bed, right in the middle or slightly in the middle towards the top, or even a complete and utter miss hit that sends the ball into Narnia, I felt an absolute disconnect from the ball. On top of that, there was little to no plow through. All the balls landed short and this racket felt extremely hollow. Whatever material Babolat was using for this racket should definitely be burned, buried 60 feet underground, and burned again, because I felt no connection to the ball whatsoever. Although this racket has no sweet spot, you know what's in my sweet spot? Shamdude. After a long tennis match, always make sure you refresh and rehydrate your skin and hair with Shamdude. With a body soap and hairline specifically targeted towards men, 3.0 NTRP and above, you can always be sure to hit the sweet spot in any social situation with the Shamdude. Did you know that Shamdude increases your dating libido by anywhere between 69 and 420%? Don't take it from me. Here's a real-life testimonial of a 33-year-old single 5.0 tennis player. Don't delay, upgrade your game today. Check out Shamdude and use discount code MARK20 at checkout for 20% off. It really helps out this channel. Thanks.
It's up there. That's Brian. It's not safe to work.
In all honesty, things do get better at the net. There is no more pain in the hand or wrist. The racket is still quick. However, this is extremely uncomfortable with that hollow feeling along with not feeling the ball on my string bed. And unsurprisingly, this racket still dropped all volleys way shorter than expected. Flat serves were fantastic. I could dial in parts of the box without fear of losing control, and I didn't lose any speed when hitting out on flat shots. The spin serves, both kick and side spin, were decent as well, but not extraordinary. Here's the thing, I really wanted to like this racket. I had a fantasy, well, not that kind of fantasy. I had a fantasy about a more plush, slightly more powerful version of the Pure Aero 98 in my hands. And I was hoping that this was gonna be it. And without surprise or filter, this racket was a pure and utter disappointment. I know a lot of you have wanted me to do a rating system out of 10 for every racket I do, but I don't think I want to turn my channel into something like an IGN. Specifically with review games, because I personally think the engineering technologies behind each racket, on top of the use as me as a tennis player, is a lot more nuanced than an integer I could place on a screen. Also, this racket is listed at near $280, which is one of the most expensive rackets on retail I've ever seen. And it also happens to be one of the worst in my experience. How about I leave Babolat engineers and the Babolat marketing team with this, an honest review from the Wauwatosa West High School tennis team. Hey guys, what do you think about this racket? But enough of what I think. What do you think of this racket? If you haven't played with this racket, did I steer you away from that possibility? Or did I encourage you to try and demo this racket and see if my overwhelming criticism is on point? Leave a comment down in the section below, or better yet, join my Discord to talk about all things tennis. This racket was reviewed over 5 hours of straight playtesting with RPM Blast 16 gauge in the main and Wilson's Sensation 16 gauge on the crosses, strung at 54 pounds. And as always, guys, happy hitting.